Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I congratulate the member for North Shropshire on being persistent and finally securing this very important debate. There are few phrases in modern Britain that I think ring as hollow as the phrase world-class connectivity. And speaking plainly, rural mobile phone connectivity in this country, it's not merely patchy, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's not merely inconsistent. In some places, it's so poor that the advertised service literally bears no resemblance to reality. And there are areas where actual service levels are hundreds of times worse than advertised. Hundreds. That is not a rounding error. That is not the result of momentary network congestion. That's the difference between promise and performance, which is so vast that it would be comic if it wasn't so economically corrosive. So take Worcestershire, for example. It's a rural county, lots of villages, small towns, industrious small businesses, farms, villages, where the coverage map glows reassuringly in bright corporate colours, but the lived reality is far too often just a single bar if you stand at the upstairs window, facing north, holding your phone aloft like some kind of digital divining rod. And we've heard already about the River Severn partnership in Worcestershire was a beneficiary of this, where quite innovatively local councils stuck these gadgets on the bin lorries that went up and down every single road, particularly the rural roads, and realised probably what we all suspect, how terrible this service is. There are parts of Worcestershire where the mobile phone signal is around 900 times worse than what the mobile phone operators claim it to be. Now, we could forgive the odd dropped call. After all, rural topography presents challenges. Hills exist. Trees are inconveniently organic. What cannot be forgiven, though, is the persistent gulf between what is claimed and what's delivered. And it's the same with broadband. We hear broadband providers advertise speeds of up to 80 megabits per second, but the reality of what many of my constituents experience is very different. These advertised figures are very much the realm of fiction. And this is not just anecdotal grumbling from the shires. The National Farmers Union, their survey has painted a sobering picture. 21% of respondents report that broadband speeds under 10 megabits per second, that's under 10 in 2026. And this is at a time when a single video could devour bandwidth instantly. What my constituents want is the ability to consume data and to be able to make voice calls at the same time. I cannot stress how sick and tired I am of hearing from mobile phone companies that everyone's just consuming data. Constituents living in rural areas in particular are increasingly reliant, as the traditional telephone service is switched off, on the ability to make voice calls, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the lived reality of what this means, well, it means that a business in rural Worcestershire that's attempting to submit might be mandatory forms online to a regulator or placing an order, they have to drive to the nearest town to do so. It means that businesses can't reliably place orders, they can't process card payments. Online banking, as banks are closing in our towns and villages and people are shifting or being pushed towards more online digital services, it's crucial that we have the mobile connectivity to back this up. And if I can say so, there is a little bit of cultural condescension at work as well. Rural Britain is far too frequently romanticised as being just a place of bucolic tranquility. It is that, but rural Britain demands parity with urban Britain at the same time. What does that mean? It means we just want a reliable mobile phone signal where we can drive down the road without it cutting out on a very short journey, or the ability to have certainty that if you need to receive a call from a loved one or a relative, or perhaps a GP, that call will come through. What do we see? Coverage maps. They've been drawn with a particularly optimistic crayon. And the problem with advertised speeds being hundreds of times better than reality is not merely technical, because it does erode trust. Quite often, these conditions are laboratory conditions. They don't bear any semblance on reality. So I invite the mobile phone companies to come and do a very thorough inspection across Bromsgrove in the villages, and I'll be very happy to follow the example. I will give way.
My honourable friend for giving way, and I concur with every word he is saying, particularly around challenges around national parks as well, where connectivity could be more difficult. If I may just take him back to callbacks from GPs, where GPs are working remotely or differently and flexibly. This is a real problem for anyone, but particularly if you miss that set call in a rural area, and this is very serious.
I thank my right honourable friend for her intervention. She's spot on. I have constituents who have contacted me because they've missed out on crucial calls that have come from GPs and other supporting services that they require, particularly older residents. So this is about the safety and well-being of our constituents as much as it is about connectivity and the economy. So in the limited time that I've got, Madam Deputy Speaker, just a few points I would implore the government to focus on. So firstly, transparency must improve. That means bolstering regulatory requirements for the mobile phone companies to advertise speeds that are realistic and not just theoretical based on laboratory conditions. Then the point around geographic coverage. This is not just population coverage, but geographic coverage. That must carry greater regulatory weight. Britain is not composed solely of cities. Land matters, and the people who steward it and rely on these mobile phone connections matter. And that means that the government should give serious consideration to rural roaming. And then finally, infrastructure sharing should be pursued with seriousness to ensure that mobile phone coverage across the country, but particularly across Bromsgrove and the villages, is as robust as it possibly can be.